Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with you today with an article from MRC Newsbusters, America's media watchdog, celebrating 20 years apparently, so good for them. This is dated August 13th, and this is called The January 6th Riot Isn't DC's Most Violent Moment. And, well, the reason this is coming up is because Dana Bash, who you see right here, or Dana Bash, whatever, I don't care, I know I don't like mispronouncing names, but if I don't like you, I don't really care, and I don't like her because she's a liar. She said, when Trump had federalized D.C., that, she switched it to suddenly January 6th was the most violent thing that happened in D.C., and it was like, yeah, no, it's not. And you should know that as a supposed objective reporter, and if you don't know that, why are you talking about it? The only other option is that you're lying. So let's go ahead and see what retard said here. She said, when President Trump called a press conference on August 11th to discuss how he would use emergency powers to federalize the D.C. police and deploy the National Guard, the knee-jerk anti-Trump media launched into complaining Trump was doing something dramatic about the crime-riddled District of Columbia. And by the way, if you've seen any of the regular people on the ground talking about this, they're all happy. It's universally, they're all this is great. I don't hear gunshots. There's no people loitering and all this stuff. It's only the media and the elites that are complaining about it. The regular people are like, yeah, this is great. And so it says, but the most obnoxious spin was dragging the January 6th riot into it, which they can't help but burp out. CNN anchor Dana Bash lectured, just as we go to break, I should know that the most violent moment in recent history in D.C. was January 6th, and it was an attack on the United States Capitol by a lot of people who were doing it in the name of Donald Trump. And it included the people who were hurt, included members of law enforcement, which, by the way, if you know anything about this, the law enforcement people that were, she's probably talking about police that were killed, there weren't any. So there's a problem there. Their argument, four or five of them committed suicide, which is, I would say, abnormally high after this. And the only person that was killed was Ashley Babbitt, who was a Trump supporter. So there was one death. Okay, just one. So it says, in a similar vein that night, MSNBC host Lawrence O'Donnell, who is an extreme partisan as well, and he's on MSNBC, says the biggest crime spree in the history of Washington, D.C. was on January 6th for Donald Trump, and Donald Trump did not send the National Guard that day. Well, there were people on Trump's side, supposedly, that, I shouldn't say supposedly, but I think we know, were trying to get the National Guard there, and Nancy Pelosi stopped it. We know this as well. So, and it wasn't a crime spree, asshole. I mean, Jesus Christ. Get your head out of your ass. It says, it's quite obvious that Democrats can reach for the same old hypocrisy hobby horse. President pro-police nudged his most fervent supporters into a riot over allegations of a stolen election. But these complaints desperately need one of those independent fact-checkers. Said it's simply false to suggest that January 6th was the most violent moment in recent history in D.C. This obviously ignores the D.C. riots after George Floyd's death in 2020. It's downright weird to describe it as a crime spree when so many of the rioters were prosecuted for peacefully entering the Capitol and taking selfies. Parading was the charge. Yeah, they were, imagine that, a riot happened in a building that you just happened to be around, and then the FBI comes and knocks on your door and charges you basically just for being there. That's what happened to a lot of people, okay? They didn't actually go in the Capitol or do anything. They were just kind of around the place. Okay, you don't believe me? Go ahead and look it up. It says this doesn't compare to older examples, like the riots after Martin Luther King's assassination in 1968, which ended badly. And I didn't know about this. 13 people were dead and more than 900 businesses were damaged. I did not know that, but I expect that, there would be bad stuff happening. It's also not accurate to say Trump did not send the National Guard that day. The D.C. National Guard arrived far too late, 5 hours after the first breaching of the gates placed around the Capitol. The president expressed a desire to have a serious National Guard presence in the days leading up to the certification of Biden's victory. But Democrats from Mayor Muriel Bowser to House Speaker Nancy Pelosi didn't want that. Neither did Trump's own Defense Department. Even after the violence began, the Pentagon dragged their feet for hours. Because what really makes the January 6th comparison so ridiculous is comparing this allegedly most violent event to an annual homicide rate of over 200 people a year. Yeah, so that doesn't count for Dana Bash as being violent at all. It's one person, just one, dying on that day. Again, it's Ashley Babbitt. But the other 200 people, not going to talk about that. Because one person was shot dead on January 6th, and that's the Capitol Police shooting Ashley Babbitt. There you go. Says none of these liberal journalists ever want to discuss that. Yeah, it's funny how her name never comes up when this stuff happens, when they bring this stuff up. So it's an example of a police killing they seem to find acceptable by their silence. Yeah, and the cop that killed her has had gun issues before, and I think he was even suspended for issues that he had, and then they ended up promoting him. Like, the dude should not be a policeman. It says, in the first 24 hours after Trump's press event, we found that between CNN and MSNBC, they raised the specter of January 6th a total of 31 times. Thus, these people made it plain when Pelosi picked her kangaroo court that they would attempt at all times to excise all the memory of the 2020 riots. There were 25 deaths nationwide. It says, but the decades-long problem of violent crime in the murder capital can't be dismissed with the usual MAGA menace material. It says it's a failure of the Democratic Party governance, and we know our media never want to admit that. Right. Yeah, so what's the problem? It's the Democrats and the way they govern, but let's just never bring that up. So I just found this to be ridiculous that Dana Bash would say something that I would hope that she knows is at least a lie, just so maybe that knowledge is in her brain somewhere and she knows she's lying. But, I mean, she works for CNN, and then Lawrence O'Donnell is just an idiot. So there's that. So what do you think about this? What do you think about their comments? Let me know in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.